Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the PC Elitist. My name is Woodsie. Thank you all for listening. I am really excited to do this recording because it's been quite a week. Very busy. I'm hoping to get to more videos this week because there's a lot of stuff to talk about this week, especially considering that we're still kind of talking about what we were talking about last week, which will be part of this video. But yeah, I guess part of being an adult is, being busy all the time. I guess that's just part of the deal. Anyway, it actually angers me. I, talk to people at work sometimes, and people will say, like, "What'd you do over the weekend?" And that other person will answer, "I don't know. I didn't do anything. It was boring." I go, "Wait, boring? I got so much stuff I want to do all the time. I mean, I have, like, a laundry list of things. If I won the lottery and I had free time all the time, I have this huge list of things I would do that I could all do within my own home, But, not everyone feels that way, I guess. I just feel like there's so much fun stuff to do everywhere, Come on, people. Anyway, so I want to thank everyone who left a comment on the last video. Drew Spider, XYZQWA. I don't know that your name actually gets pronounced in any particular way, so I'm going to just spell it out that way. He basically says, "Glad you still do this stuff. Long-time subscriber here. Thank you, sir, for listening. Thank you for listening for a long time. I really appreciate it." That kind of always baffles me. Like, the fact that I kind of get tripped out when I really think about there's actual people who listen to this. It's wild. Max Ferguson. Max, where have you been on Skype? I've been trying to call you and you don't answer. Anyway. Hazuki, Aviato, Hyperkinetic Nerd, Mega Jonesy, Greg Stefanakis, and the always awesome Frosty. Thank you guys for commenting on the video. We're going to get into a little bit of what you guys actually were commenting on, because it is important. And actually, I think that it would help, because I would love to clarify a few things that I talked about on my last video, especially when it comes down to the the 30 frames per second police and what have you, because that's important. But before I get to that, I have some awesome news for all of you. I installed something cool in my computer that I've never done before. This is a first for me. I installed a CPU water cooling unit in my computer, and if anyone's curious exactly what I got, it's an H55 Corsair CPU water cooler, and I did it kind of on a whim. I had my reasons that I wanted to water cool the CPU. I always felt it ran a little hot, and I was thinking about just getting an aftermarket, heat sink and fan, because I felt like the stock one never really worked that well. And this is an older system too, so it might seem like overkill, but I did it anyway. And I was really stunned at the performance boost I got out of this thing. I did not expect. I expected it to just maybe run smoother or extend the life of my CPU by having it cooler all the time, but damn, it runs faster. I could feel it, and especially in games where there's a lot of physics going on. I did not expect just a tangible improvement in frame rates. It's really cool. So that's awesome. I installed that over the weekend. I was very excited. Not to blow up my computer doing it. I always have this weird fear that I'm going to shock my CPU with some static, and then I will have no computer. Has no computer, and I cannot upload, and it'll be awful. It'll be the worst thing. Anyway, so last week we talked about the 30 frames per second police situation, and here it is. Here's what I want to clarify. I love eccentric people. And I don't mean like wild and crazy eccentric people, just that people have their passions. I have my passions, obviously, in PC gaming, because I feel that it gives me the greatest gaming experience, that I get to be on the front end of this awesome art form that we call video games. That I'm eccentric about. And the platform, I love the freedom of the platform is one of the reasons why I like it, because it allows people who are eccentric in various niche markets to expand, and create games around it. And that's one of the awesome things about the platform. I love it as a platform. That's really where my emphasis is. So I love that people like have specific things that are important to them, and I understand that I get a lot of residual benefit to that. A great example of this would be Star Citizen, that I'm very excited for. And there's been a lot of flack about the production of the game recently, even to the point where the creator Chris Roberts has written a letter and put it up on the front page and what have you, which is something I would love to talk about later in the week. But I understand that investing in that game, I put minimal investment in that game. I don't generally do like Kickstarter stuff. I watch Kickstarters, but I don't generally invest in them. But I put $40 into this game, which was the minimum amount for me to play all the alpha and beta stuff and basically be on the inside track without putting a ton of money in. I just put the base $40. And I'm very happy with that, and I happily watch and kind of play what they come out with, even though it's gotten to the point where my system that can't even run the, the like little alpha version like dogfighting thing. So that's unfortunate, but whatever. I'm not that worried about it because I'm going to upgrade at one day in the future. And I don't like to just anyway. This is a subject that's going on, too off the rails. But I understand that I get residual benefit for the fact that there are eccentric people who have money who want to put even more into this game. They want to put thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in. So the game will improve theoretically based on this added money being put in, and I get the benefit of it being a low investor. I feel the same way about that I do with the PC gaming platform, is that there's people who are very eccentric and about very specific things that go on PC games, and I get the benefit of that, even though I'm not so vocal or, looking for those specific things. But I know that I get the benefit of that. So the first point I'd like to make is that a few of you mentioned that, in my final statements of the video, that as an informational source, I think Hazuki said it most plainly, that it's a source for people to go to who are passionate about this particular subject and want to know. And I completely support that. I love, communities just taking it upon themselves to correct something they don't think the system that they're working within is taken care of. It's just more awesome things from the PC community. I love that we do that. I just wanted to clarify that I don't begrudge them or anything for even having the group. I was just mostly commenting on the fact that, which was directly to the point of what the story on Kotaku that Hyperconnect Nerd had linked to me. That about this one small wing that had gone way off the rails and become this militant wing of the 30 FPS police, and harassing people that shouldn't be harassed or what have you. So, and there's always that type of person. I remember, or those types of people. I remember when this channel started, we had a guy, and I'm not going to say who he was, but he befriended us. He was one of our early listeners, and he would try to drag Sean and I into these crazy debates, into chat rooms, that he would go and create a fight. He would go in there and start insulting the console people, basically. He'd find a group of console people on a forum or what have you, and then talk smack basically about their choice of gaming platform, and then try to drag us into it in some weird way. And that was awful. It was just we don't want you to do that. It's not the point of this at all. It's not to combine arms against the console people. I would rather recruit people than fight people, obviously. So I know that's the part of every group. There's always those fanatical people, and there's definitely a distinction between eccentric people and fanatical people. So that's what I was kind of commenting on. It's a shame that that there's a group that sees it in a black and white fashion, that your game is only running at 30 FPS, like, ah, darn you. But ultimately, like, groups like this do a great amount of good for people who want that singular bit of information, or this is one ingredient into a lot of information they're trying to get, and then, you know, they decide whether or not to buy a game, and this is important to them. And I understand that I get, like, a residual benefit to that. So I just want to clarify that I'm not... I don't see it as a debate. I don't see it as the 60 versus 30, like that there's any kind of argument to be made that 30 is on par or better than 60, because 60 frames per second is just, it's the gold standard. It's what you want. It's actually news to me that game developers were going out of their way to try to justify, instead of just stating plainly the reasons, like, we need to save resources building this game on a console, or which is probably the most general reason, that instead they like try to pass it off as some sort of aesthetic choice, which is crazy, absolutely crazy, you know, because that's not real. You don't think 30 looks better than 60. Nobody thinks that. I mean, 60 is better. I wish I could run at 60, but you know what I will say, there's an interesting side to this, is that when I'm really into a game like The Witcher 3, let's say, that I will find a comfortable spot, I would say between 30 to 40 FPS. I'm guessing it's in there. I do it a lot off of feel. I don't use like a lot of numbers. I don't watch my frame rates in games that often. But I do feel it. Like, you feel like, oh, it's lagging, it's staggering a little bit, and it's not doing as well, versus it's really nice and smooth. But I feel like I will always pump up the graphics when my system has gotten a little older. I'd rather take nicer graphics and the hit on the frame rate than taking down the textures or anything like that, and getting a 60 frames per second. So personally, without even thinking about it, I will find that kind of middle ground that I like, and I will always sacrifice 60 frames per second to get my aesthetic choice. But, you know, if I had more money, I would definitely just buy a better video card and run everything at 60 frames per second. But that's another story. That's a whole nother ball of wax, as they say. I have a subject to kind of shore up the end of this video, and I mentioned Witcher 3, which is actually what it's about. It's the single-player game I've been playing the most. I've been playing a little bit more PlanetSide 2 because I just needed my shooter fixed. A friend of mine was playing, and I just want to shoot folk in the face. That's all I wanted to do. And cutting up fake people is not as fun all the time as shooting actual... I need to be careful the way I say this. Having live opponents, sometimes, you know, it's just, there's just nothing like it, you know. Anyway, this particular friend, we were at lunch, and we were talking about The Witcher 3, and I told him, I'm like 106 hours in or something like that, and I can't believe, I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to the end of this game. And he beat it, I looked at his time, he beat it in like 90 hours. He beat the whole game. And I said, how the heck did you do that? How on earth did you get through this game and do it in 90 hours and enjoy it? Like, because he plays very similarly than I do, you know, like kind of search every nook and cranny and be very, you know, like just enjoy the experience. And he said something very interesting to me that I didn't even think about. The first half of the game, at least the part I'm at, because I feel like maybe I'm halfway. I don't know. Honestly, don't know how far I am through the game. But everything I've experienced, there's been this ongoing storyline of you trying to find somebody. I don't want to put any spoilers out there in case anyone wants to, you know, doesn't want a spoiler. But you're trying to find this specific person. And it's important. Like, they put a lot of pressure on, like, we got to find this person. It's, you know, we got to get out there and find them as soon as possible. They're being chased, and we got to find them first, is the issue. He's like, well, I just really stuck to the main storyline. I did barely any side quests. I just let the single-player storyline, like the main storyline, kind of just take me the whole way. He goes, and he says, because, you know what? It would break my immersion knowing that there's this crisis on hand, this person is being chased, And I was like, oh, well, I'll leave that for later. I'm going to go do some side quests. And I'll get back to the finding this all-important person later. He's like, that didn't fly with me. It was like the most important thing. I got to go do it. And I totally, it resonated with me. You know how much I love being like immersed into a game. But I think I'm consciously so aware of the game itself that this is a game. It's gonna wait for me to get there. However long it takes, like I could just ignore the main quest for like days and days. But I didn't know that he felt that way. I didn't know. It was interesting, and I'm wondering if anyone here has run into those issues where the game itself is kind of putting you juxtaposed to like exploring and searching. It's almost like counterintuitive in a way. I don't think it'll ruin my video game experience with The Witcher 3. I've been telling my brother who has asked like, how's that game? I'm just like, it's the best game ever made. I don't know how else to say it. I love it to death. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I would enjoy any thoughts you have on any of the madness that I spewed out here today. I greatly enjoy it. I love reading your comments. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time.